Despite the 1.2 billion people currently trying to learn a new language, language education has long been expensive, inaccessible, and frankly, really difficult for most people to learn. The world today is more connected than ever before. So then why is the system of online education still so outdated? On this episode of Mission Driven, we're talking to a company that is rebuilding online education from the ground up, making it easier for people to learn new languages for free, all while having fun doing it. Joining me now is Luis Van Ahn, the CEO and co-founder of Duolingo. Luis, tell us a little bit about Duolingo and how it all started.
Duolingo is a platform to learn languages. It's in fact the most popular way to learn languages in the world today. We got started about 9 years ago. I was a professor of computer science at Carnegie Mellon University, and I was in a very fortunate position in my life. I had sold my previous company to Google, and I wanted to work on something that was related to my passion, which has always been education. My views on education are very related to the fact that I'm from Guatemala. Guatemala is a very poor country. And a lot of people talk about education as something that brings equality to different social classes, but I always saw it as the opposite, as something that brings inequality. Because what happens in practice is that people who have a lot of money can buy themselves the best education in the world and therefore continue having a lot of money, whereas people who don't have very much money barely learn how to read and write. So I wanted to do something that would give equal access to education to everybody. People were going to learn languages and it was going to be free.
Luis, what makes Duolingo a purpose-driven company?
We started hiring people, and the people that we hired all had much higher paying offers from big tech companies. And the reason they would come work for us was because of our mission. When we started, we were pretty mission driven, but these people that came work for us, they were leaving behind pretty highly paying jobs for jobs that were much less paying. So these people were really putting their money where their mouth was. And by the time we've hired enough of them, they really had set the company culture. It remains to this day a very mission-driven company. And again, the idea is to develop the best education in the world and make it universally available.
Learning a language is so hard. How do you guys make it so fun?
When you're learning on Duolingo, you learn by doing. You have these little mini exercises that you have to do. You have to speak to the app and it tells you whether you said it right, or you have to translate certain things into the new language. We have a pretty sophisticated model that knows what each user knows. Because we've watched you use Duolingo for a while, we may know that you struggle with the past tense, or that you are really good at the future tense. The model knows pretty much what you know based on what you've done on Duolingo. It picks exercises that practice the things that you may not be very good at so that you get better at them. But if we only gave you things that you're not very good at, you'd get very hard lessons. So instead of doing that, we pick some of the things that you're not very good at, but we always make sure to give you things that you have about an 80% chance of getting right. If it's too easy, if it's 100% chance of getting it right, people are not challenged. And if it's below 80%, people are just really frustrated.
Talk to us about the current landscape for online education and where Duolingo fits.
Most online education just charges directly to learn. Most people use Duolingo for free, and we believe that this is both good for business and also for the world. We are the #1 top grossing app, yet we are the only one that doesn't charge.
How does Duolingo make any money?
For the first few years of the company, we were not making any money. We were such a mission-driven company, and we had been around and basically telling everybody, look, you can learn on Duolingo for free. So what we didn't want to do was just charge. When you use Duolingo, at the end of a lesson, you get a small ad unit. You can also subscribe to Duolingo. So if you don't like the ads, you can pay us to turn off the ads.
How do you believe that wealth plays into education? And how is Duolingo working to change that?
The biggest thing that can change economic inequality is education. People who are well educated usually can make a lot more money. We're trying to make it so that everybody is on equal footing. At some point we learned that Duolingo was being very heavily used by Syrian refugees throughout Europe to learn the local language. Around that same time, Bill Gates was asked if he was learning anything, and he said, oh, I'm learning languages on Duolingo. So we learned that Bill Gates was using Duolingo to learn a language around the same time that we learned that Syrian refugees were using Duolingo to learn language. And that to me is one of the things that makes me the proudest, because this is kind of the entire spectrum, right? On one end of the spectrum, you have one of the richest people in the world, and the other one is some of the poorest people in the world, and they're using the same system.
Education has changed so much since this pandemic began. How has your team and customer base responded to this massive change?
When COVID was starting, every country that would go into shutdown, we could see our traffic go up in each one of those countries. Kids in schools are now more heavily using Duolingo. A lot of people are bored. They've decided that what they're gonna do is at least improve their lives while they can't do all that much.
We're gonna be talking to Jim Shelton. I know he's one of your incredible board members. What made you want to have Jim on the board of Duolingo?
We found Jim, who's had a long and very successful career in some really amazing educational powerhouses. He led education for the Gates Foundation, then he became the Deputy Secretary of Education for the Obama administration, and if that wasn't enough, then he led education for the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. We operate at such large scale with Duolingo that we want to hear from people who've been in a position where they have to make decisions about what do we do with education in the whole country.
Jim, what drew you towards getting involved with Duolingo and eventually joining the board?
I got excited about Duolingo when Luis was still a researcher at Carnegie Mellon. I heard him do a keynote at a global conference on learning. Right out the gate, I thought he was smart and way ahead of the game. And then I saw how the product developed, how engaging it was, how much people enjoyed using it. I heard the ethos he built in the company. And so when I first came to my attention to the opportunity to join the board, I was just really excited from the moment I heard about it.
What problem do you think Duolingo is solving in the education landscape?
Duolingo's commitment to actually providing free and very affordable education to the masses is something that we know the world needs. They are showing us how to actually make education engaging and effective. With a certain amount of hours of Duolingo, you can actually outperform students who are in 4 semesters of college level work.
What do you see in Luis that makes him such a purpose-led CEO?
He has recognized that there's a way to actually change the world through what he's doing. Not only conveys that to the folks who work at Duolingo, but he is a magnet for talent that is as committed as he is to achieving the mission of providing high-quality education.
Jim, where do you see the future of education going, and how do you think that Duolingo is going to contribute to that?
People are going to recognize that learning can happen anywhere, and that, in fact, we need it to be able to keep up with the pace of change in the world. I think broad access to high-quality education has become more and more important as the world and the economies evolve.
How do you think Duolingo can help us come out of this pandemic stronger?
One of the things that has become apparent is that the lack of basic connectivity for many, many kids has shown up in a really startling way. Because we now know that Duolingo can provide a great learning opportunity for anyone who can access it, it creates a really strong case for the kinds of equity plays that we need to make to actually get more connectivity at home. It also makes clear that there's great ways to supplement teachers so that they don't have to carry the full load. But when you have students working in an online environment, when they can go and find an app that can help them and fill in some of those gaps and provide them information about what they're doing well and not doing well, and then provide that information back to the teacher, that's invaluable.
How do you accomplish creating these unique user experiences for every one of your customers?
Every lesson that you start on Duolingo is made for you. If somebody else taps on the button to start a lesson, they will get a different lesson. We have about a dozen markets for which we really spend effort trying to localize as much as possible. It's an app that was built for these people, as opposed to an app that was built in the United States without even thinking about them.
Luis, what is your vision for Duolingo for the next 5 to 10 years? And what's your ultimate vision for the company?
In the next 5 years, we're going to continue teaching languages better and improving how well we teach. There are many people who don't have access to a good teacher. So I would like to get to the point where we can teach anything with technology in a better way than ever before. And we can access everybody, and people love learning it. So I would like to get to the point where everybody's learning things through Duolingo.